With Season Deep, we have some cool bonuses to the Strand subclass, the Arc subclass, which is completely broken, but we also got some cool additions to the Void subclass. And obviously, when you think of Void Hunter, the first exotic that comes to mind is the Gyrfalcon's Hauberk. It is just an absolutely broken exotic in regards to PvE content. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys another updated build that you could take advantage of this season that's absolutely disgusting. So let's just dive right into it. So this is the exotic, Gyrfalcon's Hauberk. This is what it looks like. We actually got an ornament this season. That's what that looks like. I kind of like them both, if I'm being honest, but the main thing we want to talk about is the perk. There's a lot to go over here, so see me, feel me. Your void weapons gain volatile rounds after you emerge from being invisible. When you are invisible and defeat a combatant while using a finisher, all of your weapons gain bonus damage. You and your nearby allies gaining reserve overshield and improved class ability regeneration. These reserve overshields can be deployed by using your class ability. Now, outside of using the finisher to get bonus damage and the reserve overshield for you and your teammates, the main thing with this exotic is that when you come out of invisibility, you get volatile rounds for your void weapons. And if you didn't know, volatile rounds can actually pop anti-barrier champions, but also spread around to other targets, so it's really good for ad control. Now, like I mentioned, we want to take advantage of certain things on the seasonal artifact that are going to make this build just so good. So first up, highly recommend picking up authorized mods Void and melee, pretty much reducing the armor energy cost down to 1 for both of these. Again, we want to take advantage of certain melee mods and also void mods because of our void weapons, right? Volatile rounds coming out of invisibility with the exotic perk. Now, the next three you're going to want are here in this middle section here. First up, Unto the Breach. Defeating a void debuff target creates a void breach while your void subclass is equipped. Now, there are 3 debuffs. First up being weaken, volatile, and suppression. Those are the 3. And what's pretty cool is that with this perk, it kind of takes advantage of 2 fragments that you don't even need to put on with the subclass. First up being Echo of Cessation. The main thing, defeating volatile targets creates a void breach. And then same thing here with Echo of Harvest. Defeating weakened targets creates an orb of power and a void breach. So with that artifact perk, like, yes, you don't get like the other like small advantages that come with these other 2 fragments, but with this artifact perk, you can take advantage of all the debuffs and create void breaches. So you don't need to rock any of those fragments. So thumbs up to that one. Next up, we have Protective Breach. Picking up a Void Breach gives you an overshield or refreshing your existing overshield. Now, outside the Titan, where you can get the overshield from like placing the barricade, with Hunter, it was a little different, right? With Gyrfalcon's Hauberk giving us volatile rounds, you can use a weapon that comes with Repulsor Brace. Defeating a Void debuff target grants an overshield. So either weakening a target or killing a target while volatile, that will give you an overshield. We don't need weapons with this perk anymore, at least this season, to take advantage of this, because if we're going to be creating void breaches from volatile, weakened, and suppressed enemies, that's going to be pretty easy to accomplish with the Hunter giving us the free overshield. Now, the last one you're going to want is Supernova. Picking up a void breach causes your next source of void damage to create a large weakening pulse. Now, it's any void damage, whether it's your abilities or your weapons, it'll create a weakening pulse. And again, weakening is a debuff that we can take advantage of, which is going to proc Unto the Breach. Again, you can kind of see the cycle that's going to be happening here. Now, under the Night Stalker subclass, for the super, I would highly recommend either the Shadow Shot Mobius Quiver. Again, it's the 3 tether shots that do really good damage. Again, you can use it on a boss or just a high level target. Or you could do Deadfall, which is the 1 shot, but it tethers a bunch of targets, creates a lot of orbs of power. Basically, really good for ad control and also helps your allies. Would not recommend Spectral Blades, even though it did get a buff. For PvE, it's not absolutely necessary. For our abilities, we're going to go with Gambler's Dodge. When we dodge near a target, we'll be able to get our melee back, and our melee is going to be the Snare Bomb. Again, you're going to throw a Smoke Bomb, which attaches to surfaces and pings enemy radar, weakens targets on detonation. So once we throw the Snare Bomb and we dodge near a target, we can get another Snare Bomb. For your movement ability, you can use what you want. It doesn't really matter. For the grenade, I am going to go with the Vortex Grenade. So again, it'll pull in those targets, you know, really good for crowd control. Next up for the aspects, first up, I'm going with Vanishing Step. Again, dodging makes you invisible. Pretty simple, but we do want to take advantage of it with the Gyrfalcon's Hauberk so we can constantly have the volatile rounds. Next up is Stylus Executioner. Defeating a weakened, suppressed, or volatile target grants invisibility and True Sight. After performing a Stylus Execution, your next melee attack, while invisible, weakens targets. So pretty much anytime we apply a debuff to a target and they die, we get to go invisible for free. Now, under our fragments, first up, you're going to want Echo of Undermining. Your Void Grenades weaken targets. It is a -20 to Discipline, so it is a huge chunk, but weakening the targets allows you to take advantage of, you know, Stylus Executioner, the perks on the seasonal artifact, plus with the Vortex Grenade in and of itself, you can either throw it on a boss to weaken it, or it gets stuck in a bunch of ads and kill them very quickly. Next up, highly recommend Echo of Starvation. Picking up a Void Breach on Orb of Power grants Devour. It is a -10 to recovery, but On top of picking up the Void Breaches with all the benefits we're already getting, we get Devour. Now, Devour, pretty much feast on the energy of your defeated foes, final blows, restore you to full health, grant grenade energy, and extend Devour. Devour is pretty much a survival mechanism and a way for you to get your grenade back even faster. And on top of, being invisible, getting Devour and Overshield, where you can also take advantage of all 3 buffs that come with the subclass. So we can take advantage of all 3 debuffs and buffs with this setup, which is very nice. Next up, I like this one, Echo of Obscurity. Final blows grant invisibility, is a +10 to recovery, but the main thing here is that if you don't have your abilities, which isn't going to happen very often, but if it does happen, you can also finish the target to gain invisibility. Then when you shoot your void weapon out of it, you will gain those volatile rounds. Now lastly, we do have a couple options for the fragment. You can honestly use what you'd want, but I do like Echo of Remnants. Again, your lingering grenade effects have an increased duration, so that vortex grenade will last longer. You could even potentially do Echo of Exchange. Melee final blows grant grenade energy, so when you throw that smoke bomb, it kills the target, you get grenade energy back. Because again, we're going to have that melee pretty often with Gambler's Dodge. You could do Echo of Reprisal. Final blows when surrounded by combatants grant you super energy, so you can get that super back even faster. Again, there's a couple of them in here, but again, I would at least recommend Undermining, Starvation, and Obscurity. Next, let's talk about the armor mods that I'm using. So first up on the helmet here, I'm rocking Double Dynamo, reduces super cooldown when using your class ability near targets, and then I'm also rocking Void Siphon, rapid void weapon final blows create an orb of power. On the gauntlets here, I'm rocking Focusing Strike and Bolstering Detonation. Pretty much, if I deal any damage with my grenade or my melee ability, I get a cooldown for my class ability, aka the dodge. Then next up, I have Impact Induction, causing damage with a melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. On the chest piece, you can rock any combination of reserve and resistance mods, but since we're going to be invisible most of the time, I'm just going to put on melee damage resistance if I'm in close quarters, and then double void reserves for those void weapons. On the boots, I'm rocking double void weapon surge. Again, your void weapons gain a small bonus to damage while you have any armor charge. Your armor charge now decays over time. Essentially, you gain an armor charge when you pick up an orb of power. Base-wise, you could have a max of 3 armor charges, and with the blue mods here, they last 10 seconds. So if we have 3 armor charges, that gives us this bonus void weapon damage for 30 seconds, and since we're rocking 2, again, we do get increased benefits for our void weapons. Now, the next one I'd recommend is Innervation. Again, reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an orb of power. If you're having trouble surviving, you could also do Recuperation. Again, replenishes health each time you pick up an orb of power. And then last on the class item here, I'm rocking Bomber. Reduces grenade cooldown when using your class ability. Next up, Reaper. After using your class ability, your next weapon final blow spawns an orb of power. And then we're using the new mod that came with the season called Powerful Attraction. Automatically collects nearby orbs of power when you activate your class ability. So when we dodge, any orbs of power around us are just gonna get collected. Now for stats for you to focus on, highly recommend Resilience. We talk about this every video. Try to have tier 10 Resilience, 100 Resilience. It's going to give you a 30% damage reduction in PvE. Again, we're going to have all these survivability mechanics with Invisibility, Overshield, and Devour, but again, Resilience is going to be key no matter what you're doing, in my opinion. Now, for the next stats to focus on, I'd highly recommend Mobility. Mobility is actually tied to the dodge, the class ability stat for the hunter, and again, if we can dodge more often, we get more snare bombs to take advantage of other things here on the subclass. Now, you don't really need to focus on strength, since if we dodge your target, we're going to get the melee. So the only other ones you really need to focus on is either Discipline, which is tied to the grenade, or if you wanted your super back faster, you could focus on Intellect. Now for weapons you should use, again, there's a variety of void weapons that we can take advantage of. As long as you have a good PvE roll on a void weapon, you should be absolutely fine. Like I said, we don't need a weapon with Repulsive Brace because we're going to take advantage of Unto the Breach with Protective Breach. So we don't need a weapon to give us Overshield because this is going to give us our Overshield to take advantage of. So what I would recommend is looking into a weapon that could come with Destabilizing Rounds. Again, final blows cause nearby targets to become volatile. Like, yes, we already get volatile rounds, but this just spreads it even more, which is absolutely disgusting. But an exotic to look into, which is very good with this build, and I actually covered this in my previous builds with Gyrfalcons, is the Wavesplitter Exotic Trace Rifle. Its perk, Harmonic Laser. Laser damage has 3 power levels that oscillate while the trigger is held down. Also comes with polygonal rifling, enhanced battery, and then fitted stock. But the main perk here, which is really good, Supercharged Battery. Collecting an orb of power grants a period of maximum power that starts with an automatic reload. Sustained fire with this mode suppresses targets. So not only do we get auto reload on orb pickup, the maximum damage that it can produce, but it can also suppress targets, which is the other debuff that we could take advantage of with the rest of this build. Now, if you are going to rock Wavesplitter, I would recommend replacing one of the dynamos with Special Ammo Finder. Again, that's going to increase the drop chance of special ammo on a kill, so you can make sure you always have ammo for the Wavesplitter. Now, if you got through all that and you're still a little confused about how this build works, how the synergy works, let me explain it to you. There really isn't a lot of setup for this. All you really have to do is just go invisible, either by dodging or defeating a void debuff target, you know, taking advantage of the aspects on the void subclass. And then when we come out of that invisibility, again, that's when we get volatile rounds for our void weapons. This is where the chain reaction starts rolling. So again, whenever you defeat, you know, a debuff target with our aspect Stylus Executioner, we can go invisible again. But with the artifact perks, right? So once we defeat a target, you know, whether it's with, you know, a weapon with volatile rounds or with Wavesplitter, you know, suppressing the target, making the target volatile as well, that is going to create a void breach. Now, once we pick up that void breach, we're going to gain that overshield. And again, any other void breach that we pick up while we have the overshield, we'll just refresh it, which is really good. And then after that, we get Supernova. Now, again, Supernova is whenever we deal damage with our next void damage, whether it's our, you know, abilities or our weapons, that's going to create a weakening pulse, weakening targets around it, while you also take advantage of volatile on your weapons. You defeat those targets, you go invisible again, refreshing the Gyrfalcon's Hauberk perk, allowing you to go invisible. Now, again, the invisibility is also a survival mechanic as well, on top of, you know, pretty much refreshing the volatile rounds. Now, with everything on the subclass, you know, if you do need to go invisible again, we have the Vanishing Step aspect, you know, dodging. And again, if we have Gambler's Dodge, we dodge near target, we're going to get the Snare Bomb. The Snare Bomb weakens targets. We defeat the weakened targets, we go invisible again, which is really good. And again, with the Vortex Grenade, it lasts longer, you know, with Echo of Remnants, and also weakens targets with Echo of Undermining, again, proccing Stylus Executioner again. And then also, anytime we pick up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power that we create, we get Devour. And if we continue getting kills with Devour, we're going to constantly have full health and our grenade on top of extending the Devour perk. Now, for some reason, like I mentioned, if we don't have any way to go invisible, whether it's volatile rounds, dodging, weakening targets, whatever, we do have Echo of Obscurity, allowing us to do a finisher to grant us invisibility. Now, in regards to the armor mods, these are just bonuses, to be honest. You know, on the helmet with Dynamo, again, when we dodge into the targets, we get our super back even faster, so we can take advantage of Mobius Quiver or Deadfall. With Void Siphon, we're going to be using void weapons anyway, so again, creating orbs of power for us and our teammates are just going to be really fantastic. On the gauntlets here, again, dealing damage with our melee, again with impact, induction, and focusing strike, that's going to give us a cooldown to our grenade and our class ability, the dodge. Also with bolstering detonation, dealing grenade damage also gives us a cooldown to our dodge ability again, so we can take advantage of the Snare Bomb, you know, dodging your target, all that great jazz. On the chest piece in general, again, depending on what damage resistance mod you use, that's fantastic, but the Void Reserves is going to be key, especially with, you know, your Void Heavy and Wavesplitter if you decide to use it. Now on the boots, obviously the double Void Weapon Surge is fantastic, giving us that bonus damage for 30 seconds as long as we have 3 armor charges, you know, picking up 3 orbs of power, which is going to be pretty easy to accomplish anyway. So we're going to have constant void weapon damage bonus. Anytime we pick an orb of power with Innervation, we get more grenade energy. And then on the class ability, again, when we dodge, Bomber kicks in, giving us more grenade energy. Reaper kicks in, so on our next weapon kill, again, that's going to have volatile rounds anyway with the void weapons, right? That's going to create another orb of power. And then with Powerful Attraction, with all the orbs we created, right when we dodge, we collect all those orbs of power around us. Essentially, once you go invisible, it's game on. Just go and destroy everything. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is my updated Season of the Deep Gyrfalcon's Hauberk build. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm actually going to put the build dim link in the comments, so if you want to copy everything that I'm using in regards to the subclass, the armor mods, the artifact perks, all that great jazz, you want to take advantage of all that and test it out yourself, again, that will be in the dim link. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you think I could have substituted something in somewhere? Let me know in the comments. Again, I test out stuff in this game all the time, and I'm willing to hear you out. In any event, guys, if you like what you saw, be sure to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then turn the bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on another build video here on the channel. If you didn't know, we actually stream 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays here on YouTube. Again, sometimes I change the time of day depending on my schedule. But again, if you want to stay updated with where I'm going live and other new stuff, be sure to follow me on Twitter at ItsDaveTV. I always tweet out when I'm going live, you know, general new stuff on the channel. But if you did want to join in for dungeons, raids, PvP, whatever, be sure to join my Discord. That link will be in the description. Again, we have other games we talk about in there as well, on top of PC tech, anime, and more. Lastly, if you didn't know, we hit YouTube Partner here on the channel, which is just freaking awesome. It's given us a lot of cool benefits. One of those things being memberships. If you don't know what a membership is essentially like a Twitch subscription. Again, that's just another way to support me here on the channel so I can continue making this content for you guys. So again, if you would like more information, all you have to do is press the join button, next subscribe, and I'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.